All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for, we are fortunate and lucky to have Professor Stark and Alexis Jackson with us today to sort of debrief our weekend adventure and to start mapping out what's going to happen from here to the end of the semester. Right? So today is kind of getting organized and debriefing and reviewing what's going on. So I thought maybe I'll just recap briefly, just a very summary of our experience this weekend, and I have a few comments about everything. But first of all, I want to thank Professor Stark for all of the work that she does on her end, and as you know, she's really the expert of the Africana receptions. I'm just I'm an interloper, okay? So we're grateful for her work with her students in Washington, and of course Alexis for her amazing social engineering with these extremely talented young people, and they really are totally amazing, and that's due in no small part, I'm sure, to the mentoring that you've been giving them. So it's really it's amazing experience, and I hope that you all can capture or feel a sense of the uniqueness and the kind of this special project that we've got going on. I mean, you really have. I mean, even so far, some lives have been transformed by what's happened. So that's really. I mean, Alexis can speak to that. I can certainly speak to that. So the students from Howard came Saturday evening. We got them settled. There were some issues with their accommodations that we ultimately sort of got worked out. Ultimately, we walked down to Overton Square. They were living not far from Overton Square. We walked down. We had dinner there. This is all in the workshop events. Then Sunday morning, they came out to my house and we had pancakes. Okay, right, which was great fun. And then we went to the Civil Rights Museum, which was again, and you will see. I mean, I wish that we could give you the full package. How the experience, for example, at the Museum of African American History and Culture, the new one in Washington, how it and the Civil Rights Museum are really, in amazing ways, complementary, right? And how they provide. It's at least, I mean, now that Professor Stark, that you've seen the museum here, also how these collections and the way they present the information really complement each other in kind of exciting ways. So that was a great thing. And then of course, Professor Stark only made it through not even maybe half of the museum, right? Because
I like to read everything.
She reads everything, right? Okay, so we had to go back.
I just have to come back. That's what I can say.
And get her.
He's going to take a couple of trips.
So then we went down to the river, which is practically on flood stage right now. I mean, it's incredibly high, to see the Big Muddy, and then we went to the Stax Museum. Or no, we went to Stax first, and then we went to the river. But we were
intrigued by this pyramid. So
yeah,
what is this? And then they didn't believe Professor Morell when he said it was the Bass Pro Shop. They're like, what's that?
That's right. I said it's a unique cultural experience in and of itself, and so maybe someday we'll go there. We went to the Stax Museum, and I don't know if you've been there, but it's a great experience. Their collection there and is wonderful. And then afterwards we went over to see the development projects that are going around Soulsville. And I don't know whether you know this, but Tom Shadyac, who's the son of his father was the principal, was the president, I think, of ALSAC. But Tom Shadyac became a very successful Hollywood director and producer. Virtually everything that Jim Carrey did, you know, Tom Shadyac in some way produced or directed. Okay, became extremely successful and had a you know, an experience in life that he did not want to live the Hollywood life of a celebrity anymore, but wanted to really give back. And so he has been working in Soulsville and on a variety of projects. And so we went over, and Keon Colaney, who manages one of his facilities there called Memphis Rocks. So I don't know if you've been there. This is the rock climbing facility. That's one of Tom Shadyac's projects. And so we got a tour of the project with Keon Colaney.
And we saw Lakendra.
We saw Lakendra there.
So she came and introduced herself.
And as it turns out, Lakendra is like this, you know, this.
Amazing.
She is a force of energy in and of herself, and so she goes to the Soulsville Academy, right? So there's a school associated with that that really attempts to continue the tradition of Memphis music in a very, I think, important way. And so that was our Sunday. They were thoroughly exhausted, right? We came back over here Sunday night, and they had dinner in with the refectory, and then Monday.
And we're totally impressed, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, said, do not, you know.
That's right.
Choose Sodexo, which is our.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was.
They were outraged to think that Sodexo was even in the running here. Okay. Yeah. So Monday we started off at ballet, New Ballet Ensemble. Started to work through the play. So during the workshopping days, we worked through all of the scripts, did some of the creative work. It was an amazing experience to see the students and everyone sort of getting together. Jordan was there, and I think Davis, you were there for part of that experience, and to see the students really get into it and think about things like, you know, color and costumes and music and all kinds of things. So Monday, all the sessions on Monday, and I think I may have told you, but this session on Monday was so amazing that that Katie Smythe, the director, she is New Ballet Ensemble, okay, shared it with her board. It was so amazing what was going on. And then Tuesday, after we had worked through all of the plays, we had our big meeting here where everybody was on campus. That was a great event, and I hope you enjoyed meeting the students. And they had great fun here in the refectory. It was crazy. So, and then yesterday morning we continued working on it. There was a lot of work over at New Ballet Ensemble. Ramiz was able to come by for a few minutes anyway, and so anyway, that's a sort of a recap. And so what we want to do today is we want to sort of Professor Stark and Alexis are going to we're going to sort of give a status report on where things are, and we're going to sort of map out what's going to happen over the next few weeks, and get organized. Okay. Do you want to add anything to the little summary of our project?
I mean, it depends on what you want me to say.
No. I mean, just overall.
I think the structure. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm going to ask my students, if that's what you mean, is that in terms of how we went about, like what your feedback is immediately, and obviously we'll do it over stages because it will be helpful in future iterations to kind of know. In some ways, it's like that first morning was so incredible, but it just went really slowly, so we had to change tactics. And so I think though that it set the tone for what followed, and so I'm really glad actually we did that, because we only got through 3 plays, but the interaction and the buy-in from the students at New Ballet was, I thought, tremendous, and I think they got really excited and had some ownership. And I think that's something that I kept stressing to my students, that the scripts are really starting points. I mean, production is drama is meant to be performed, and so it's like I think it's a living art form, and so I think that part of it is really important. And so that I really felt that first morning with the students. And so in some ways this is what I was telling Professor Morales, in some ways I wish you guys didn't have classes, because I think you really missed out on a lot of really exciting to be in the room. It's kind of like when all of that's happening, and that's the kind of creative process, the collaborative creative process that's really theater is about. And so that's something that I would change in future iterations, and I think some of you got to experience it, and but for my students, like, that was the big thing that they said, this was amazing, and they never would have anticipated it. And so they were texting me this morning like, I can't believe it, like still like on the high from these last few days. And I feel like you guys were to, some of you got to taste it, but to have the full experience would have really, I think, also been really important for you. But moving forward, I think that's another thing that we need to talk about. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Alexis, because I think this part is where I really want us, I was hoping that when my students were here, and I mean Professor Morrell already said that we would have had more interaction, that you would have gotten to know them a little bit more, because we haven't integrated as much, because our times overlap only half hour. And our campus is like in crisis, and we're having to try to move to all these crazy locations for classrooms, so everyone's nervous. If they have something that they have to take an exam at the next class, they have to leave early, and because anyway, you understand these things. So in some ways that hasn't materialized. I mean, they can watch the links, but I don't have all the gear that Professor Morrell has to have you have the same kind of involvement in our class. So they feel like they knew you coming a little bit, but it didn't work the other way around. And I think if I could do this over again, you guys should have come to the pancakes, because that was an easy way for you guys to hang out and get together, or have, we all come together at the cafeteria on Sunday evening. So that I think that's social, to get to know each other, so that then the process of moving forward, we would have had that kind of connection moving in. And so that's something that I hope we can create, even though it's virtually, because basically all the Howard students said they want to come back for the performance. So you have a chance to redeem yourselves, is what I'm saying, because they just so loved it. And so I don't know what I'm gonna go see what I can do. So all to say is I really want you guys to make the effort to kind of reach out to the students who came and bring them in, because they feel too like they invested so much in this trip, but now they're going, and now they feel like but it's like they're gonna lose creative control to you guys because you're here. And so I don't want that to happen, and I want you guys to work together, and I think that's something that I feel very strongly about. And so regardless of whose play it is, and I think I stressed that to some of you whose plays were chosen, like, this is not about you, it's about all of us. And so anyway. Yeah. Okay, so I will pass it over to the expert on how
expert. Yeah, I mean, this was so transformative for our students, and I don't know how much y'all know about New Ballet Ensemble, but we are an arts education nonprofit. We focus on dance, classical ballet, African dance, Memphis Jookin, and Spanish style flamenco dancing. And so our students are of varying ranges of their dance training. And you guys got like a small taste of our students. We work with about 600 a week at our site, and then at 13 schools around the Mid-South area. And so we have kids who are applying to Juilliard this year. We have kids who would never dream of doing so because they don't want to go. It's kind of a very elitist school, but also, they want to pursue academia. But I think the most important thing that they need in their lives is exposure. And exposure to you guys has just been crucial. Exposure to the Howard students has been, they've never, I think, spoken with Black academic students in that sense ever. Black artists all the time. But I think showing them that you can do more than just play sport or dance or play music is crucial to them understanding that there's a way for them to find the success in their artistry or in what they want to do. And over 60% of the kids that we work with are living at or below the poverty line. So they're already at so many other disadvantages. The average ACT score is 17. With those kids, it's 16. And so even with them wanting to even go to Rhodes or Howard, there's already a huge barrier for them. So getting to work with you guys is one of the highlights of their high school experience. So I hope that they really get to work more with you guys and learn from you guys and maybe get a bit of a spark to work harder or seek out more resources and opportunities to get them to go to Rhodes or Howard or wherever, because they really want to create and design and produce and show how amazing they are, and it's not always as possible here in this city. So I am so excited for them to be able to do this, because it really does open up so many doors. I mean, the doors already opening up for them just from me sharing that live stream has been incredible. So thank y'all so much for being here and doing this, and just know how important it is. Like, you might have just helped get one or two of those kids into college when they thought that they weren't going to go. So it's really great. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And not all of the students were able to come and join us. So there are some of them that you haven't had a chance to meet, but some of the real the movers and shakers among this group were, I think the core were there. Mm-hmm. Now I want, okay, so we chose 6 scenes. 4 of them were from our class. 2 of them were from the students at Howard. All of them had merits and were interesting and insightful, and I hope that you, in the process of writing these scenes, could get a glimpse into the process itself and a better understanding of the underlying material. So 6 of the plays from here, or 4 of them were selected here, and so that means that that 4 of the playwrights here are among us, and I want us to think of. Professor Stark and I were talking about this. Think of this as a big physics experiment. Okay, so you know, if in a big physics experiment, there can be hundreds of people involved in it, okay? And the publication is like, you know, the whole first page is practically the names of people who've been involved. Or think in terms of movie credits too, okay, where so many people are. So I want us to think of these productions as the person whose script, the scene, is now the basis of this next production phase, is really just the first name on a long list of people who are contributing to it. And the process is one in which the initial idea is animating an ongoing creative process. And so Davis here, for example, his name is, you know, the first one, okay, for having come up with a scene, but Spencer's name's going to be there, and anyone else that's going to be involved in it, in the creation, in the shaping, and the production of these sorts of things. So I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, my job is done, okay, oh, you know, thank goodness my play wasn't so I can sort of, you know, I can concentrate on something else. The creative process is going to be continuing on, and we've come up with these sort of teams, and we've started to look at them a little bit more, but we want to talk more about them and what's going to be going on. We do have the workshop opportunity at the Center for Hellenic Studies in Washington, and if you want to continue on and develop this, and I think all of them have have a lot of potential, you're more than welcome to develop an abstract and so that we can go through a review process and hopefully get you to come to Washington. What we're going to do is, in this review process, we take the abstract, and if it's accepted through the center, then we will work with the offices here at Rhodes that typically provide funding for students to go to a research experience. And so we'll try to work on the resources to be able to get you to go to Washington. In any event, the technically we'll be able to stream and join the facility in Washington with here, so that people can participate remotely as well. And that will be not unlike what we've just experienced this weekend, where your work at that point, okay, so we're talking the first weekend of April, so you continue to develop it, we'll take it, and during that event, during that symposium, continue to work it and shape. And I hope one of the things that comes out of this is the idea that the creative process is, as Professor Stark said, intensely collaborative. Right? I tell people that, I virtually don't write an email message without sharing it with at least 1 or 2 people to read it before, and to review it and to refine it before I even send an email, okay? That it's just so ingrained through the academic process that that's what we do. And the creative process is the same way. So we have you paired up in teams, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do subsequently about that. So, where should we start? Do you have something that you want to add to this, to that little comment? Okay. All right. So let's start with Jordan right here. So Jordan, tell us a little bit about with whom you're working and what your role is going to be and how your experience is now evolving.
Okay. So I'm working with Jalen. She goes to Howard. She wrote the adaptation on the back eye. And I'm the director. I got a whole lesson on what it means to be a director yesterday and what I need to do. So you guys definitely should take advantage of the resources that we have, Air-Roads, and the people that are willing to help us make sure that the vision actually comes alive. The playwright, you are dead. You no longer have that role anymore. It's up to the director. It's our vision, apparently. But please don't die on this. We need some help. Yeah, but overall, I really enjoyed the experience. Like, I think I spent a lot of time with the girls from Howard. Like, I actually ate lunch with them yesterday. So I got to see how their experience was, what they didn't get to see of Memphis, how they felt about, like, their plays being chosen, and the things that they disliked about the entire, like, I don't know, ordeal, and how they were feeling. They understand that we were we're in class and they're in spring break, but they feel like they did majority of the work, and they feel kind of like shunned, a little left out. So definitely make them feel like they're involved. They want to feel like they can help. So if you have anything that they can do, just feel free to reach out. Like, they don't mind us reaching out.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about how you have started to develop Jalen's project here. With
Jalen's project, I'm trying to make it more modern because it's still set in the same time. And I feel like with a modern twist, it might be better for the audience to actually enjoy. So me and Jalen are working on modernizing it. So I have her email and her phone number. So we're gonna discuss back and forth to make sure that what she wants still happens, although she wrote the original.
Yeah. So we've tentatively called it The King of Pain, right? Is that still working? Is that still an operative thing?
She said
she's got something else.
But then she came with something else. So we're working on it.
You're working on it. That's that is great. Did you? So what from our performers? Have you had a chance to identify or work with any performers in particular?
They haven't gotten to our play because I think we the last one. So we still were on the third or fourth one yesterday.
Karan did talk to them at the end.
Okay.
So so what happened with so instead of doing, because I think we were going to do the Ave Maria, and then I think Karan wanted to talk to them about comedy, and so that was part of what she was talking about in terms of, and we probably should do that with all of the plays, the concept that's driving it, or the motive, and so I think she did sort of explain to them what kind of comedy it is, and what that means so that they have a lot of freedom. So they were getting super excited about how they could be completely ridiculous and over-exaggerate emotions and to make it work, because it's coming at the end.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit more about the sequencing of those scenes?
Okay, so when we were trying to figure out what would be a good arc for these different plays, we thought we'd start with the Janelle's Aphrodite's Baby, which is the Galatea, and it has a nice opening dance scene, and then we were transitioned to Noah's, which we basically have now removed all of the script, the words, and just taken the storyline, and it's an entire dance piece, and that's actually what we have choreographed the most. Like, that's the most developed of the plays so far. And it's really, you guys, this is where you totally need to watch the recordings, because like they have the whole wedding entrance, because so much of it is like recognizable of what it, but then yesterday they workshopped really like kind of how that, all the movement with that, but then also the fight sequence between Agamemnon and Menelaus, and it's all through dance, and it's amazing. Like, I have to say, it is like probably one of my favorite parts to watch them go at it, and it's all in dance, and it's beautiful. I mean, so that's kind of fun, and so I'm really excited to see how that keeps going in that narrative. So that's the second one, and then we're gonna do Davis's Electra, and Spencer, you were telling me how much the dance that's going along with that play as well, but shall I let Spencer? So I can give you the order, and then you guys can catch us up on that. And then we will probably go to then the Ave Maria, and partly because we felt like that was the most serious of the plays that were chosen, and it's really dark. I mean, and so it takes us to a place that then we need some sort of, and so we went from the sad, tragic, to then the Washerwomen, so Jay's play, which is, we've actually, so she and Aisha stripped also, like they it's an angry play now, but it's very powerful. It's and it's gonna have dance as well, but that I think is really great. So we're going from the sad, tragic to angry, and then we're gonna end with the comedy. So it's kind of thinking of the Washerwoman as the Seder play to where you leave us, and so and then we have just fun, and the kids, I think the students are gonna have a lot of fun with the Black Eye, and so the vision that or whatever the title now is going to be, that Jordan brings to it will give us a little bit of a cathartic moment, I think. So that's the order. We still need to think about brainstorming like a title for the production itself, and so there are a couple of things that have floated around. So feel free if something strikes you. I've got a couple of suggestions from others. But I think in terms of like the sequencing, also we were thinking of how the play ends and can transition, and so that was partly too how the orders went, because Aphrodite's Baby has that moment with Pygmalion at the end, and then they can enter in with the dance sequence and the wedding procession. So there's some technical reasons to why they fit well that way. I mean, it's also fluid if we feel like, no, we really need to move it around, but. So.
It does reflect. I mean, all of this process, I do think reflects reflects the talents and the interests of the entire creative team, and since we are working with the new ballet ensemble, dance is going to figure probably more prominently than we all imagined it would, and I just want to underscore that this is although we have been working with literary adaptations and transformations and re-envisionings of the Greek drama, there is also a huge tradition in the dance tradition of reimagining the art forms from ancient Greece in dance as well. In fact, Isadora Duncan, was
Martha Graham.
and Martha Graham, Isadora Duncan. These are names that are really important in the evolution of modern dance as we know it today. In particular, Isadora Duncan envisioned many of her movements from face painting, from representations of the ancient Greek world, and so there was a lot of that, and so there's a very strong tradition also of ballet and dance that are based on and reflections of the material, the kinds of stories that we've been reading and discussing. So it's entirely, this is not anything new or strange, it's something that's just we're moving in a slightly different direction. Do you want to say something?
I was wondering, do you want me to search for a clip of
Oh, we could do that.
the YouTube?
Yeah.
I'll send it to you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
them all.
So anyway, that's an important part of what we're doing, and it does underscore, it reminds us, I think, how important dance was for the ancient plays as well. I think that we tend to think of this as static sort of events or movements on a stage, and a chorus kind of all lined up and maybe singing it together or something. But I think really what we're thinking, this introduces more how important movement was in dance itself. So this is, I think, a very exciting one. So Davis, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening with you and your director Spencer? We've got the Spencer Davis group, fully formed
I'm a
now.
little out of the group at the moment, anyway. But yeah, so I haven't really heard about any of the different changes. I'm excited to know what our thoughts are. I guess Spencer would probably know best.
Spencer, fill us in.
So, when I went and talked with Ariel on Tuesday about how the dance was all going to look, mostly just focused on what the setting should be and how I was thinking that, well, it should probably be, I was thinking like kind of noir-esque, like at least costuming wise, and then like the restaurant should just be like 3 tables, and with the emphasis being on like the waiters and the customers being like the chorus and the dancers in the background, while Electra and Eddie sit like in the foreground talking. And then it's kind of segmented into 3 parts, where you kind of have the frilly, like lovey-dovey stuff right at the beginning, because it's like we're gonna get married, and so like the dancers are gonna reflect that as that happens. And then when the officers come in, that's when kind of a fight dance or at least a confrontation dance begins between Eddie and the sergeant, while like Electra's like still in the center, but they're like circling around here. And then it's going to transition into like taking Electra away, and like maybe a little foreshadow with the dance of that she's going to kill herself when they go off stage. And then after she dies and someone runs back on stage, then it's going to be like a mournful dance at the end, and then until they take Eddie away. But yeah.
Sounds pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly, the only like symbolism that I had in the play originally was the wine bottle.
Yeah, the table.
Yeah,
And
the tablecloth.
we were still gonna implement that. It's like when they take her, and like the wine bottle can still like fall off the table or something, like just as it happened. Yeah.
Because the wine spilling is supposed to be representative of her killing herself, and it like spills on the white tablecloth, and that's like the innocence of her child dying as well. But I like the dance sequences. That sounds really cool.
It's
So
right there in the notes. I'm looking at Spencer's notes.
Yeah, so we've got some cool
knocks
stuff.
over wine while reaching for
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Then yeah, I'm excited. Sounds like it's really coming along.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything to what we did with Noah's, with Ariel? Because
What?
I was there for Noah.
Me
Talking
too.
about that a little bit, but Yeah, I mean, like you said, we basically started talking about having like just dance sequences involved more heavily, and then we all kind of agreed that it'd be much more interesting to do it without any words, because each scene or each event in the play is something that can be easily shown through action, and it was really Ariel's idea to do that, I would say, and to just employ like lots of music, just very emotionally heavy to imply what's going on in the scene. And I talked to Noah about it, and he thought it was a great idea. And so yeah.
Yeah. I think did you get to see the choreographed?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think once you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, this was a good choice.
Okay.
Because it just means that you pay attention to what's happening on stage. So I think it draws you in a way that the words, you don't need the words.
Yeah.
Because then you're more like, oh, what's going on? And
Yeah.
they're really capturing it really well, I thought.
Can you say a little bit about Ariel, because she's one of your dancers, and
Yes.
because she, as you can hear, that she's already started to play kind of a creative, formative role in these plays. So
Yes.
a word about Ariel would be good.
I actually just met Ariel myself. So she is one of our students who goes to Cordova at our program over there. And I don't work as closely with those students, but I mean, just from the moment when I went over to Cordova to help recruit the students, she was like one of the first ones to jump on board and want to do it. And I think she has like a real bug to want to create and be a producer and a choreographer. So I do think that she wants to take a pretty strong leadership role and to help work with you guys and the Howard students to help formulate whatever we're trying to create here. But yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
She's
Ariel James is her name. Yeah.
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 She's a senior.
Yep.
At
Basically
Cordova.
took notes to the storyboards. This is my scribbles when she was like, and then we could do this. And it was
The
great.
excitement. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's fantastic. Okay, and so tentatively, struggling with names, but I suggested Dawn Agamemnon to sort of bring out the feuding families kind of aspect of that. So let's see. Do we have Drew? You are working with Nick, right? Do you want to do you want to say anything more about where Ave Maria is and that sort of thing?
I think Drew could speak better to that than I could.
Sure. I worked a lot with Karan on the choreography because I don't know anything about that, and she knows a lot about it. So she kind of handled that, and we talked to Jazaria and Hannah about, I guess, the style of movement that we want in Ave Maria. I talked to Trey a little bit as well. Basically, I think the final thing was while Joseph and the priest are speaking in the confessional, the dance would be concurrent with what they were saying. And occasionally not the chorus, or not the verse, but just that low humming like awe of Ave Maria would be in the background, and then there would be breaks where they would go into like the actual words of Ave Maria, and the dance would also basically just emulate the different power changes from like the priest to Joseph to the priest to Joseph, like basically showing how Joseph establishes that he now has control over like what happens to the priest or how the priest is viewed, kind of like a give and take. Karan had a lot of really good ideas and could explain it much better than I could in terms of.
Yeah, she was telling me about the
Yeah.
the X.
Yeah, and then at the end, just have like a X spotlighted on, rotated into a cross, but use the dance to show the changing power dynamic, and then it ultimately ends with the priest at Joseph's knees when he realizes he's going to be outed as a rapist.
So they end up reversing. That's cool. And wasn't there something like that the chorus would then overpower a certain point?
Yeah. I mean, towards the end, when it's less speaking and more the dance, the chorus gets progressively stronger and stronger. Just that vaulting Maria, which can be pretty like ominous when it's Latin and spooky, but it just get progressively louder and then kind of crescendo at that scene where the priest falls.
Cool, thank you. I think Karan was telling me this way too fast when I didn't have my pen and paper. So I remember
Ron would be the
snippets.
person to ask. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Karan was very helpful.
Yeah.
I thought it might be interesting to show a clip of the Isadora Duncan, because we can do that really quick. Would that be good?
While
yeah.
we were waiting for you
Yeah.
to cue that up,
Yeah.
would you say a little bit about what Mr. Blackwell told you about the director?
Okay.
Since, like, you know, he's not.
So the job of the director is not to control the performance. It's like an aspect of like going along, making sure you're like a guide. Your job is to tell a story, and you kind of have control over what this story portrays. He also talked about like staging people and their importance of where you put people. You don't want everybody in the same row. You want people like diagonals to draw attention to where you want people. Like, he is amazing, and he said if we need any help, he's willing to come, because apparently he teaches at Rhodes. Elijah's in his class, so if we need anything, we got some help. Because I'm not an actress, I don't direct, I don't do any of that. But he said we all have the capability to do so because we've been acting our whole life. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And Karan said the same thing. He said, like, she's totally psyched about this project. Like, and so I think she worked with the students yesterday, sort of gave them kind of almost a master class type of thing, with pointing out the fact that dance can be as important as words, and so and you know, focusing just like when an actor or actress gets into their character, you know how they have certain motives that drive their. Anyway, I'll let her speak more, but anyway, just think of them as resources, and I think they really do want to be a part of it too. So the structure of how we move forward will be something like that we need to talk about, because the students, I think, should we talk about that now? Like, just in terms of like the commitment.
Yeah, I mean, they are very, very committed. It's just, you know, times between high school students and parents are much different than college students. So I think they, like, right now, they're mostly free Sunday afternoons, just because, you know, they're either free or they're in school or they're at an after-school program. And then also, one of our biggest challenges here is transportation. So it's ensuring that the students can get to and from back home, wherever they live here in the area, safely and at a good time. So right now we're looking at Sunday 3 to 5, possibly also Friday afternoon or Friday evening for rehearsals. And then I think we can build that up or build it down depending on what else is needed. But that's kind of where we are right now today. And then I think as we get closer to the performance, where that's going to be, then we can figure out what that performance week looks like.
Can we go through the teams so far, just so that we get it down, everybody knows what's going on. So let's start with Aphrodite's Baby. So this is Janelle, it's her initial sort of thing, and Jordan, you're working with her, or no, Elijah's working with her, Elijah. And Elijah really, he's probably recovering from all of the time that he spent with us. He was really involved and is really super excited about it. And he is involved with. He's in an acting class with Lawrence here on campus, and Lawrence was the one that was meeting with you from Hattie Lou Theater. So we've got Elijah is going to be her director, right? Do we have any specific dancers? Because we're talking. Have you made any assignments there?
Not yet. We're gonna do it on Sunday, but
Okay.
but from my idea, I think they want to kind of go with what was assigned to them earlier
Initially?
this weekend initially. So I think we might just stick with that. I mean, I have about a dozen other dancers that just
Yeah.
couldn't be here this week, and who
Yeah.
are also brilliant. So
Yeah.
I think we'll just see kind of who kind of adds in to wants to help
Right.
provide their expertise to where.
And who was that? Who was
It's
working?
Lakendra.
Was Lakendra?
Yeah,
I know that
and who was it? Lakendra and someone else, or just Lakendra?
it was just Lakendra,
Okay.
but I know that Henry was playing a pretty large role
Okay.
too in that. So, but he's down on the
Right.
So anyway,
I'll confirm it on Sunday just
yeah,
to see where they want to meet.
Is that this Sunday that you're going to be meeting with them?
At New Ballet.
I can't be here that Sunday.
I know it's tricky timing with this many people.
This is Lakendra
Yeah.
Riddle, or does she say Riddell? Or
Riddle.
Riddle, yeah. And she's 11th grader. She's at Soulsville.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Aphrodite's baby. And then we've got Dawn Agamemnon. That's my sort of thing. Noah. And working with Noah is
Ariel.
Ariel, right? Ariel is our dancer.
Well, she's sort of the director, really.
Yeah. Ariel.
Nick, did you want to be on that too?
Sure. I mean, I don't know how much I would be able to add,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to do that dance, but.
And Hugh, are you working with that one with
with
Noah
Noah.
as well? Okay, great.
Which play is that again?
Is it the Iphigenia?
The Iphigenia one.
But we're calling it Dawn Agamemnon.
Okay.
Just,
That's the one that sets up the mafia.
yeah. And Ariel, okay, and Nick is gonna be sort of there as well. And then we've got the Electra.
Well, I mean, you can do your own. I was just
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you
yeah.
were there. And
I would
David's-
like to work on others.
Yeah.
And Spencer. Have we, any particular dancers working with Electra with?
What's assigned to that?
Oh, Bria.
Bria. She wasn't there yesterday.
Oh, Bria.
Sure.
Bria Wood, I think is her.
Right. We'll see who wants to lead on that one.
Okay.
Bria Bria Word. She's a senior out at Cordova. Great. And then we've got Ave Maria, Nick, and Drew, right? Do we have specific dancers assigned to
Hannah.
Hannah?
Mhm.
Jazaria.
This is Hannah Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay. She's a 9th grader from North Point High School. It's amazing. And Jazaria Kimboy, she's a 10th grader out at Cordova.
I think it's Jazaria. Isn't it?
Sorry, yeah.
And then we've got the washerwomen, right?
That was Jaden and Maria.
And Ramiz, you're going to be involved in this, right?
Yes, but I'm a little out of the loop.
Well,
Just got the warm-ups on Tuesday.
And that is, who was that?
Jaden and
Jaden.
Maria.
So this is Jaden Nathan. It's from the KIPP school, and he's a 10th grader. And Maria Carter, who's a 11th grader out at Cordova. And then we've got the Bacchae, okay. And this is Jalen Knotts, and our Jordan. And you were working with, who were the dancers? Trayvon. This is Trayvon Jones. He's from Lausanne. And Henry Hull. He's a 10th grader out of Cordova.
We'll see how where they, because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
some of them,
Kind of win it, yeah.
because, I assured them that they, we rotated if they could.
Yeah, and they'll all be in everything as far as I know,
I'm
so.
thinking
yeah.
probably.
Yeah, they'll be playing multiple roles. Do you all have any questions? I'm meeting with Lawrence on Monday
Okay.
to see if we can't get him involved with the other. So, for example, Ramiz, you weren't there, but to, hopefully he can give you the speech that he gave to Jordan about this, about your role there.
And so this Sunday, who all thinks that they could be there? Maybe
I
you can
definitely
let me know when they can.
What, like, time?
It's 3 to 5 right now, and timing is rough. No,
I probably do.
you too. Okay, so then maybe we could work on those plays. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the Bacchae and then Ave Maria. Okay. Okay.
That would be good, because I think they've actually conceptually talked about both of those.
Right.
And, so you can't record that one?
Possibly. Well, I can show you the gear.
Oh, yeah.
We could possibly do that.
Yeah, Ryan, or I could have Ryan,
Ryan.
maybe Ryan, I'll send Ryan to learn how to
Right,
work the
uh-huh.
gear. And Ryan get off. Okay.
That would be great, because I think if we could record them all, that would be, so that we have record the sessions, but then also in real life.
Right.
When are we hoping to,
Yeah, do we have any ideas about the performance?
Still working, I mean, I think for right now, Hattie Lou is where we're going to perform, but just picking up the dates, I think that just depends on when we want to do it. I know Lawrence kind of threw around a school, like a daytime show, and we could always invite public schools to come and watch it, which could be really, really awesome. And then we can just get our students out of school on that day to come and perform. Or we could do an evening, just like what day works.
well, it just depends on when, because
When? What
after
time?
April 26th till the end of the semester is probably gonna be just like the worst.
Right,
'Cause
yeah.
that's finals.
Right, I agree.
But like if it was a Saturday,
Yeah.
like our reading day or something.
What, are we thinking late April?
That's what I was thinking, I don't know, yeah.
I don't know, right before April, like
Yeah, either-
26th, usually there's like a break in between like the finals run up and like the, like, end of the semester. I think.
Well, I don't know. I know there's a break, like classes stop on the 26th, and then I think that's like a Friday.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, so
Friday.
Saturday is like the reading day.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna double check it.
I thought reading day was on a
I don't even know, dude.
because they usually try to make it on a weekday.
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought it was a Saturday because I
Sam on
thought it was
Saturday.
weird.
Is performing at the Irkus still a possibility, or?
It is, I can look into that to see if a possibility to do that at Irkus, yeah. Yeah. I need to check on that.
It would be creative too.
All right. Okay, well, okay, so this Sunday,
It's
and
Saturday.
you have you have everybody's email, do you?
Mhm.
Okay.
I have all of my students' emails.
Okay, so I need to give you everybody else's emails.
I'll give you the kids' emails.
So that we can all be in touch and
And everyone is going to be on a creative team,
Yes,
right? As
yes.
part of the,
yeah, everyone will be on us to continue. Now, for we need to talk about when as far as I'm concerned, you can take another couple of weeks to continue working on and finalizing the script and the commentary as far as the deliverable, as they say, is concerned for this particular course, right?
On our script and our commentary, or as
Yes.
a creative team on?
Your script and your commentary.
Okay.
Yeah. And based on the feedback that you got, clean it up and so that we have a final draft. And let's say 2 weeks to do that. Is that reasonable?
well, in time for the symposium, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some will be contributing in the symposium. I don't know if everybody's going to be interested in doing that, but let's have it at least. Yes.
Abstract deadline.
So
It's
the-
passed, actually, but I think.
These are the individual
So
scripts that
mine.
we.
As soon as,
Yes,
as
yes.
soon as possible.
I didn't get any feedback on mine because I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
still out of town.
Yeah. Well, we'll give you some feedback.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant from like the workshop.
Okay, so just point of clarification here. The main deliverable, the project, okay, in terms of fulfilling the requirements of Greek and Roman Studies 260 poetry performance, is you've done a draft, you've got some feedback, and so you need to deliver a final version of the script and commentary, right? Now, some of you are going to want to continue on and do this, and that would be something separate from this, okay? So, for example, Jordan, if you want to continue working on this and develop it into that would be beyond that, but as far as the requirements for this particular course, it's that final version, okay, and the commentary that goes with it. And that should be, and let's have that due in 2 weeks, okay? And those who are going to want to go on and do the workshop in Washington, then we can talk about what steps need to be set up or prepared for that.
I think we need abstracts,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
by the end of the week.
Yeah, we do need the
So we have
abstracts,
to-
but yeah.
We have to pick the.
Yeah.
250 words, we're not
Yeah.
talking, I mean, abstracts are short, but we do need them, because we have to
Yeah.
have the center.
Yeah. The abstracts essentially describe what you want to do, right? And you can provide. They should all refer to obviously to the work upon which your project is based, but should I think refer to some of the other. So, for example, Jordan, to talk about a review or two about the notion that the play is in some way incomplete, and we can work on this together about what ideas about comments that Rita Dove may have made about it, comments from reviewers and so on about how the play ends and how we are envisioning. Also, maybe some reference to the work, because underlying this is the one rebellion that they were planning there, that provides kind of the substructure or the historical context for that play, and you might want to refer to descriptions or studies of that particular moment, and how that might inform how you envision this coming out. Okay, so now about any other questions about that? I will send out an email to that effect. Yes,
This
Spencer.
is about the ones we wrote personally, or this
Yes.
is about the project? that was
About
before?
you wrote personally.
Okay.
Okay. Just to polish them up in a final form based on the feedback that you've got. And there are for some of them, that feedback is available in the recordings of the YouTube videos of the thing, so we can talk about that as well. And for some of it, we had some feedback in Washington, and we can tell you more about was that because we weren't able to record that one. So I will send out an email to this effect, sort of outlining that sort of thing, and I can give you some URLs to look at some abstracts and what they look like. 250 words, it's not really it's just about a page, what it works out to be. We're working with Alexis and the performers to establish a rehearsal schedule. Everyone will be involved in the production, okay? So just be thinking of, we've got this sort of thing, so if at this point you can begin carving out and reserving a little bit of time during these periods. Sunday afternoon, it looks like it's going to be
Fridays.
Sunday or Fridays, and
weekends are best.
we'll have further information about that. Now about what we're going to be doing in this class, okay, next week. We're going to change the sequence ever so slightly. We were going to do Antigone next week, but because of the symposium, we're going to flip, and we're going to look at Lysistrata and Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot's Chirac, and we're going to reverse the order this time, and we're going to look at Spike Lee's Chirac first, and then do Lysistrata. Okay, so for Tuesday, I will send out a link. I will put up the event on there with a link. We have access to the film through a streaming service. So for Tuesday, you were to watch Chirac, okay? And there'll be a quiz on Chirac just as we have, and we'll talk more about Chirac and that sort of thing. And I also think that I'm really looking forward to this conversation, this discussion, because you will be able to see how Spike Lee and Kevin Wilmot have adapted these aspects of Lysistrata, the Aristophanes play. I mean, you won't have read, maybe some of you have read Lysistrata, but you will be able to, and I want you to watch for certain elements that are in there. For example, look for...
Well, you'll want to rewatch it,
yeah,
is what will happen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's enough in there.
Yeah.
I mean, Spike Lee does it's an amazing film. And so it's sort of Lysistrata is within the film, and so I think that even though we're reversing the order, sorry, I'm hijacking.
Yeah, no, you please.
But like basically, what will be fun about this, and is that because we tend to read the ancient play and then look at its modern reworking. This one, I think that Spike Lee has a narrative there, and then on Thursday you can probably pick apart what Spike Lee is doing, and I think it'll be interesting too because this is a film. And so what you can do in cinematography and film studies, will really also kind of give you some ideas even for the stage, I think. And then when we do Lysistrata, then you'll want to re-watch the film, and then we can talk about it on the following Thursday, how the two are really in dialogue. So, but.
Yeah. No. That's absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And you've seen enough. I mean, you have seen enough of Greek drama that you'll be able to identify the elements that they incorporate in this, and the different characters. And so
it's our first comedy too.
Yeah.
So, but Spike Lee doesn't really do that. I mean, that was part of the controversy. If you remember when it came out, like when they saw the previews, the outrage that. They're taking a very serious issue and making light of it, and it was like, no. And so once you see the film, you'll see how, and it's very Aristophanic. When you start studying Aristophanes, you see that he does kind of mix genres in a really clever way, and so Spike Lee is doing a lot of this in the film. So I think it will be really interesting, and I'm actually excited that we're reversing it, because then you kind of come and you take Spike Lee. Who's probably one of the best directors the 20th century, I think. And so, really kind of look at it for what it's doing. And it's very relevant, right? And then when we read Antigone with Naomi Kelly, it's taking a similar situation, but it's taking Antigone. Okay, so it's a different play, a tragedy, and what she does with it. So it's going to be a nice pairing in a way that we're flipping. So we'll give a little distance from Oedipus. You know, he'll be there. And anyway, I'm keeping him. So.
Yeah, no. Any questions? Any comments? I'll send out an email with these sort of updates, and I'll post the events for next week as well.
And I know some of you probably want more feedback. I'm also like have comment. I've read all the plays. I have lots of comments for all of you. So
I would definitely like.
How long were you here?
I'm bopping down to Jackson, and then I will be back, and then I'm off to Toronto. So virtually, I'm always here. So
Right.
I guess I put it that way. But yeah, I'm driving today. But that doesn't mean, as I say,
Right.
you know.
I do. I mean, if I may just comment on that I want you to think of Professor Stark as your professor as well, right? And that she is there and available, just as I sort of feel like, you know, Janelle and Teonse and they are my students as well, okay, including the two that weren't able to come here. I want you to think of Professor Stark as your professor as well, and she's there to provide you with some feedback and guidance, and she's fully integrated into this process, and she's really the one that is organizing and making this workshop possible in Washington, D.C. through her affiliation with the Center for Hellenic Studies. So she's there, and she's also an expert in this sort of thing. I mean, you are about to, she really knows Chirac, okay? So stay tuned. All right. Let's call it a day then. I will see you next on Tuesday. Those of you who can, on Sunday afternoon, 3 to 5 at New Ballet Ensemble, which is in Cooper Young. And we'll be in touch and begin building the infrastructure for the next step.